I don't know how it started, I don't know what you did. Now I'm the gal that's chasing you up, really flip my lid. Come on, you eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Well, what are you gonna do with this eager beaver, baby of mine? Ooh, I'm all there beside you.
And welcome to Was That an Orgy? The show where we will be talking about sex positivity, and all things related to that. And we are the Bawd sisters. I am Charlene.
I'm Teresa.
And we have a very special guest today. Davina is here. Yes. Welcome,
Thank
Davina.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And you're here today to talk to us about how to make love to a trans woman.
Yes.
And
Yes.
among other things, many.
Among many other things. Definitely completely selfless.
Yeah.
Just I want to make sure that people know how to, have sex with someone who's just like me. It's just
Yes, exactly.
Totally selfless. But
totally.
her Tinder profile is. No, just kidding.
Yeah. You can find me on FetLife and all the apps.
Yes.
My OnlyFans is at. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Lovely.
And in case you can, kind of guess by the name of the show as well as the title of this episode, this is not going to be appropriate for delicate ears. So go ahead and, put in your earbuds, leave the room where your children are. Granny might be cool with it. So, I mean, our granny,
she would have
totally
been.
would have been.
I've met some cool grannies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our granny was rad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't doubt that.
squirrel.
Anywho.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're here with you. So I think a great place to start is just to find out a little bit about your background and, how you got to be the amazing person that you are.
Yeah. So basically, it all begins in May of 1986. So I'm 35. Math? Sure. Let's go with that. And I've been out since 2017. I came out in February, started transitioning medically a few months later, taking hormones. So I've been on hormones since then. I've had a few different surgeries, top surgery. Thank you, State of Oregon, for these.
You look amazing. By the way.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Organ taxpayers.
Yeah, I've got boob envy. In a big way.
It's just you just got to go and get your own if you're not happy with the growth. That's basically what it is. I've been married before. I've had a very twisted, interesting religious journey. I'm studying to be a rabbi currently at a non-denominational school. I very much consider myself a denominational anarchist. So
Yes.
I don't really like ascribing to one particular set of things.
Yeah.
And I found sex positive community in 2016, just at the very beginning of my divorce and end of that chapter of my life, and heard about poly and relationship anarchy and sex positivity and consent and boundaries and kink and BDSM and all these things. And I just went, ooh. And I drank all of the Kool-Aid, and here I am, essentially.
Now you're drunk on it.
Yeah,
All
I have to
right.
live where Portland? Is this in Portland? I'm great. Guess I'm moving to Portland.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
You landed in the right spot, really.
I like to think so.
Yeah. And you were actually the person who taught, let's see, when I joined SPP, you taught, was it Awesome Boundaries?
Probably.
Yeah.
I was teaching
You
kind of
were
all the classes.
Yeah,
I remember.
You were so good at that. Oh my
Thanks.
God.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So you actually were one of the key people in helping to get me into the sex positive space.
And on that note, too, I am a squirrel-bound question asker. And if there's anything you just don't want to answer, you just be like, well, I prefer not to talk about that. And we'll just roll right along.
Very similar to my experiences with most things sex and kink related. I have yet to find things that I'm like, not for me. So yeah, I'm an open book.
Well, I'd already thought of questions about your personal life even. And
Yeah.
just thought, give you that disclaimer.
All out on the table.
All right. Well, I was curious immediately, were you married? How long were you married? Were you married to a man or a woman?
I was married to a woman. I was married for 6 years, together with her for 10. We met in college when we were 19. I got married when we were 24. It was a there were lots of good parts in it, but it was not a healthy working relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was very much an unhealthy working relationship. It worked,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
we both realized eventually that we weren't really right for each other. We were both just kind of like suppressing parts of who we each were. Me a little bit more so.
Mm-hmm.
She like found herself and her personality more of who really she is, and I realized, oh, I'm not a boy. Oops. So yeah, it was like, thank goodness, mutual in terms of splitting up. We do share a beagle. Currently lives with her.
Oh,
I very much miss her.
oh.
She's adorable.
We had a beagle.
But yeah, part of my transition was definitely wondering, like, oh, am I into like women still? Am I like, yeah, no, I very much am. It's just now I'm a woman into women instead of a man into women.
Mm-hmm.
But sexuality and gender play a huge part of my like childhood. I'm trying to figure out who I am, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fit with the straight boys. Am I gay? No, I fit a little bit more with them personality-wise, but not sexuality-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I really just want to hang around the girls more.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then Q, like 20 years later, finally is being like, oh, it's because I am one.
Right.
Okay.
Did you always feel like that, or was there an age that you started feeling that more?
I always had leanings, like from when I was a common trans theme is very much so like, I've known since I was 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, no, but I was very comfortable around non-masculine things. Like I remember when I was 5, my favorite game in the world to play with my girlfriend was, I think it was called Pretty Pretty Princess. There was this board and you went around it and you collected various things and like bracelets and necklaces and rings, and the winner of the game got a crown.
And you actually put them all on.
Oh, of course.
Fantastic.
Loved it. I loved that game. When I was in middle school, was all about like, I want to dye my hair and I want it to be like long and straight. And I wanted contacts because I was wearing glasses and I liked jewelry. And I had desires for these things, but couldn't name them. And fortunately, I grew up in a household that was very gender accepting. My dad was not somebody who was normative as like the manly man.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that was good, but also there was nothing to rebel against. So it was just, I was just confused. So yeah, I didn't have the words, I didn't have the language, I didn't have role models to look to and go, you can be that. And yeah, by the time there was that, I'd already been suppressing it for so long. It was buried super deep.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever get that mentor or that person that inspired you or helped you connect?
Not really as much well, kind of. In terms of inspiration, it was a random person. I was at this Jewish social justice like event, retreat, conference thing in DC, because of course I was. And we were, one of the days we went to protest minimum wage laws in the Senate cafeteria, because of course we did. And just like a bunch of white privileged Jewish kids, like, let's go be protesting in the Senate cafeteria. Nothing will happen to us. And there was a guy, I remember very clearly, he had bald or like not that much hair, kind of fit. And the color theme of the group we were protesting with was blue. So they had blue shirts and signs and stuff. And he had blue nail polish on. Now, I did not talk to this person. I have no idea why he had blue nail polish on. Maybe he was genderqueer. Maybe he was trans and just starting to come out with it. Maybe he was wearing blue because everything was blue. And why not?
Yeah.
But whatever it was, I saw a guy in nail polish, a thing that I've been craving for years, got in fights with my ex-wife for years. And something just inside me went, I have to have that.
Yeah.
I can't play this game anymore and pretend. And that moment is kind of what started the like, I'm going to go into therapy and start trying to figure this stuff out.
That's
Great.
amazing.
So random person in DC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
yeah.
it.
And that's such a great reminder of like, just by being who you are for all of us, for everyone who's expressing themselves, just by being who you are, you never know who you're inspiring to be who they are, because
So true.
he probably didn't intend to inspire anyone that day. Maybe he did, but that little gesture of blue nail polish made a huge difference for you, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like that Nelson Mandela line in the speech, liberation spreads like wildfire. And you never know, like when you're giving yourself permission, who else you're giving permission to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I very much have taken that idea to heart. Of you just be you, and the number of people who've come up to me after a show, after services, after anything that I am publicly doing a thing at, who've just said stuff based on who I was, and then have come to me later and been like, I just want to let you know, like, that was really inspiring, and you like helped me. I was like, oh, okay, wow, thanks, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, impulsive question number 2. You said show. What kind of shows do you do?
I'm a theater kid because obviously I'm a theater kid. I'm a walking stereotype. It's ridiculous. So I like doing storytelling now. I'd love to be in an actual theater production and memorize lines and all that good stuff. Oh, yeah. But I was doing storytelling in the before times. I'd like to get back to it someday if we're ever allowed to have regular lives again.
Bookmark that too, because I want to start a storytelling night somewhere. So
okay,
well, tomorrow.
Yeah, call me. I have like 15 stories currently just sitting, waiting to be read again. Yeah, I love it. Being on stage and talking to people.
Yeah.
That's my whole deal.
Awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's the show then, was storytelling.
Yeah. So I see that there could be like a part 2 and part 3 to this episode already.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. Like, we get in with a cliffhanger.
I like cliffhangers.
And then come back a couple weeks from now.
I'm down with cliffhangers. Yeah. I have a very interesting life. There's a lot of parts that are moving that don't necessarily, you wouldn't think play well together, and didn't for a long time. And now I've been like, no, I've figured out how to make them all play nice.
Yeah, lovely.
So my general life goal is to help other people make them play nice together.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, I don't mean to like fast forward, but impulsive questions.
Yeah.
I'm just curious when you mentioned when you came out. When did you say that was again?
2017, February of 2017.
And so was that outside of your marriage, or were you still in the marriage?
Just after. We separated in like June or July of 2016. And then thanks to California's 6-month minimum laws for reasons, I guess, we weren't officially divorced until February of 2017.
A long 6 months.
Yeah, like we lived together for a month, and then she found a place. I moved back in with my mom. I got a little apartment of our own until I moved up here to Portland. And so part of the divorce was me realizing I wasn't cis, and her realizing there were many, many issues. But one of them was her realizing she was attracted to just men, period, men. And I, whatever I was, hadn't figured out yet, was not that.
Right.
So it like added to the various reasons we shouldn't have been together.
Yeah.
And it was actually with the same therapist. So we went to a therapist to like try to salvage last ditch effort.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to us, she also specialized in queer and gender like therapies.
How lovely. Perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I emailed her like 2 months after and went, hey, can we keep talking about the whole gender thing? Because like I got some questions.
How was that for you coming out? And I'm curious, how did you do it? Like
Facebook, because I'm a millennial.
Oh, right.
Yes, well done.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotta put the bile back down.
We forgive you.
Into my, it was the scary part was actually telling my mom, who was like super supportive but very confused. She's since gotten so much better. She uses words like cis now, and I'm like, oh,
that's amazing.
She's 76, and like says cis, and I'm like, good job.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom.
But yeah, it was. I have a symptom of something which I'm trying to figure out which called identity diffusion, which just means it's hard for me to really figure out who I am, like what's going on inside. And so I Googled genderqueer versus transgender for like 5 months. and finally told my therapist I was doing this. Like, God, I don't know what I am. I don't know how. And she like got me to calm down and went, all right, we're just do like word association stuff. I was like, cool. Like breathe, close your eyes, just say the first thought that comes to your mind when I like say a word or ask you a question. She did it a few times, and then she got to like, I don't know, third, fourth question, whatever, and said, if I could snap my fingers and you could wake up tomorrow as anything, what would it be? And she snapped, and I said woman. And then I opened my eyes and went, oh, a woman. I don't want to put on makeup or wear nail polish, or I don't want to like put on these trappings of just expression. I want to be what I feel inside.
Yeah.
Followed
by, oh, swear word.
You can cuss.
By the way,
good. Because I swear like a sailor.
Say whatever the fuck you want.
So yeah, it was just like, oh shit, I'm trans. And then like, then I went home, called my best friend, my other best friend, my third best friend, told my mom, and then that just next day was like, Facebook post number 7,000, life change. Hey, I know I've divorced and then said genderqueer and dad passed away. And there's been a lot of stuff moving around on Facebook. One more thing. Name's not David anymore. It's Davina. I go by she, they currently, because I'm still kind of uncomfortable just going by she, her completely. And girl. So there's that. And then just, went full on, no hiding, I just doing anything in small measures is not what I do.
No.
Right.
Well, but that's kind of how life goes, is you get unstuck in one area of your life, which may have been the marriage. Maybe that was the primary I'm stuck thing. Once that thing breaks loose, then you notice this cascading effect of other things breaking loose. And you're like, oh my God. And now I'm thinking about this and this and this and everything. You start shifting everything in your life to fall into place, to look like what your real dream is. And that sounds like exactly what was going on for you. And that's so powerful. Like, I bet, like, did you just go home and cry when you realized that? Like, I would just be bawling, like, just to finally realize, oh my God, this is who I am. This is so amazing. You know, like
what a
that,
relief.
Not so much crying. Crying was something I always had trouble with until I started being powered by estrogen. And whatever. Like, I hate gender stereotypes and gender norms. I do.
Yes.
Always hated them. Yeah. But also, I cry at like commercials now. Did not happen before when I was powered by testosterone. There is some truth to hormones, emotions, something.
It's true.
And so it was more of just this freeing feeling that I felt lighter.
Yeah.
And like, wow, like I know now. And then the negative parts, which a lot of trans folks don't talk about, which is the next morning waking up and looking in the mirror and being like, I'm still a dude. Like, it's still, I've changed. Like, I've said, call me by this, but like my ID still says David and M, and I still look like a dude, and I'm still a dude. And and so it wasn't until a few years ago that I finally, because I start looking in the mirror and being like, oh, I see her now. It's not just this transforming thing. I'm like, oh, I'm on getting towards the quote other side. But it was, the first thing was mainly just feeling free and feeling less trapped by this thing I didn't know I'd been holding on to since I was a kid.
Right. Yeah. You were aligned on the inside, even though the exterior, your exterior didn't match just yet. At least on the inside, you were completely aligned with who you are.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow.
I'm curious too, like, how did that influence how you date? Because like, that's something I wouldn't know. I mean, I hardly know how to date as like a cis female hetero kind of, but then, how do you know when, where, how to start finding people that are going to be open and attractive to you?
That's the question. So the first, the first year and a half, I didn't. I briefly dated one person for like a month after my divorce before coming out. As for both of us, ended up being essentially a palate cleanser from previous relationships. But yeah, when I came out, I was like, I just need to focus on this for a bit, figure out how and what and like how is hard, and like now I have to do myself shots every week, and that sucks, and things are going to change. And so I didn't date at all for about a year, little over a year and a half, year and a half, somewhere in between there. And I struggled a lot with when I was starting out. Finally, I'm like, okay, so if I'm doing it online, I can tailor pictures to look good and stuff, but when do I say the thing?
Yeah, good.
Do I say
question.
the thing up front? Do I not say the thing? Do I wait a couple dates to see if we click? And I am very lucky in that I am not attracted to men. And so there's a lot less of a fear of being murdered by coming out to a guy you're seeing, which happens so freaking frequently. There's a defense around it called transpanic, which is still legal in Oregon.
Gross. Yeah.
So I'm a little
I've never
fortunate.
heard of this. So this
transpanic.
Transpanic is an excuse.
It's an excuse.
You know,
I was so shocked. It's essentially, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, connected to a plea by insanity.
Okay.
And it's connected to that. Like, I was so upset by this reveal of information, and it affected me so powerfully that I essentially went temporarily insane and killed this person.
Wow.
And that is a valid defense that you can use to try and get off from murdering a trans girl.
That's horrifying.
It's and a bunch of states are outlawing it. Currently, Oregon still is not one of them.
Yeah, it's like
okay, Oregon,
permission.
let's work on that, please.
It's giving people permission, essentially.
To indulge whatever sickness. I mean, they could even premeditate it and use that excuse.
Yep.
For sure.
So I'm very fortunate in that is not so much a concern for me, as much as just dates going terribly and awkward conversations or situations. But I decided, partially because of that and because of a little bit of fear, that, I'm just going to say it outright. And if I ever like met someone who was into me and then maybe wasn't because I was trans, I don't want to be with that person anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to give them a chance to get to know you. No, if you're not cool with dating a trans person, I don't want to date you, period.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
There's no point.
Yeah. I know it's affected my dating life, especially the online world.
Yeah.
I've had like matches, let's say, come up and they didn't fully read your profile, which I hate.
I know.
I'm searching for women. Come on. Like, yeah, if I was men, fine. They don't read anything. But like other women, really? And I've had occasionally been like, oh, I'm a trans. I've had some people ask like, oh, where are you in your transition? Be like, why? Is it because you'll date a trans person if they've only had bottom surgery and their parts look like the parts you want to have sex with? Because otherwise, I don't care to know you.
Yeah.
So it has affected, but not as much as I thought it might, partially because Portland and my sex positive community here, that has just been awesome. So I have it very good dating as a trans person in this area. I am friends with many people in many parts of the world and country that don't have it the same.
Yeah.
Who are trans women who are lesbians, but just because of the dating pool and the political feelings of a lot of the dating pool, they don't have a lot of luck.
Yeah.
I have, maybe it's because the wine kicked in, but I have a question. Like, so the whole how to make love to a trans woman, like, I think about this and I'm like, okay, so the way that I interact with the man would be like, I would see them naked for the first time and I'd be like, oh my God, your cock is so amazing or whatever. But it's like, if I were with a trans woman for the first time, like, would that be something that, would be not so welcome to say? Like, is it more like, I would be like, oh, you're so beautiful, but I wouldn't want to like specifically go down to that area. And like on the inside, I might be like, oh, nom, 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 nom. But like on the outside, I might just want to like shut that little bit up and be like, hey, let's keep it on the, on the more like juicy feminine side of things. Okay.
So
that was my big question.
So putting the I would hope by this point, anyone listening to any kind of advice program, something like this, disclaimer that these are my thoughts and feelings and opinions, and I don't speak for all trans women.
Right.
I speak for some of them at least, because I've talked with a lot of them about them. So it's not just my own feelings. So it definitely depends. Part of it is it is very confusing, both for anyone having sex with a trans person and the trans person. Because we're also, I mean, I've been on hormones for 4.5 years, and I still am just like, all right, so it's, if you take the level of complication of having sex with a woman and like bringing a woman to orgasm, depending on if they have clitoral orgasms or vaginal orgasms, and how easy it is for them to orgasm, whereas for most men, at least most cis men, you can just like, you know, a stiff wind, wind comes out, along with other things. I'm also a 12-year-old.
Oh my God, us
Hey,
too.
perfect. I'm a 12-year-old
Middle school.
I said
Yeah,
stiff,
totally.
giggle. So yeah, like a stiff wind comes by and they're just like, oh my God. So then you have that, and then you have like a lot of cis women, and then you have a lot of trans women above that, because our genitals, like our biology is as confused as we are.
Yeah.
Because externally, and for a lot of things internally, it's still kind of man. Like, I have a penis. No longer testicles. I got those fuckers removed. But there's still a scrotum. But yeah, taking anti-androgen medication so you don't to combat the testosterone gets old, and there's side effects, and you have to, and just no. So just remove the production facilities altogether. So now I just take my estrogen every week and I'm fine.
That's wise.
So I still have those parts, but they don't function like a cis male's penis anymore. Some trans women, especially those in porn, whether it's with a professional like company or they're doing OnlyFans, still have testicles. They haven't had what's called an orchiectomy. They may have taken hormones up to a point in order to help shape their body a certain way and feel a certain way, but they might be taking slightly less dose in order to have their penis still react as a man's would possibly. Also, because they still have testosterone in their body, they can kind of play around with their hormone levels in terms, which is difficult on the brain, but can be super useful if you're into sex work. So I know trans women who like to penetrate with their penis. I know trans women who don't at all, including myself. For me, my penis, which penises sounds weird. Peni? Let's go with peni. That sounds better. Peni. Like peni and the clitoris are the same thing.
Right.
Like, yeah, the urethra is there and it's not in a clitoris, which would be weird. But it's the same organ. There is a tissue. Like it's literally what they do for gender confirmation surgery is they take my penis and shave it down and do things and clit. So it functions as a clit. Just really big and mostly external, as opposed to most of it being internal. So things that like turn me on, like being told I'm beautiful, very much that feminine energy of just you're beautiful, gorgeous, those kind of words. Not for me personally. Compliments about my genitalia don't do it for me. They never really did, but it could be that I was trans and didn't know it. But yeah, so for me, compliments about literally every other part of me,
feeling desired, right?
Feeling
like
I want to feel desired,
like you
right? And like like my breasts are, you know, a combination of 4 years of hormone growth and breast tissue, and also 450 cc's of silicone in each side. So like, I didn't grow them myself, but you can compliment the hell out of them, and that would be great. Or my face, or my skills when I get started.
So like just to kind of just to like dovetail in there. So like if I were to say like, oh, you know, your clit is this or that, like could one refer to what you have now as like a clit, and like would that feel more aligned with what you're like, because I've seen clits that they're like, 3 or 4 inches long. And so it's like, there is this super gray area where clit turns to penis, penis turns to clit. So it's like, if someone were to say, oh, your clit's getting hard or whatever, or I can really see, whatever, this, that. Is that something that you're more responsive to or that feels better?
Totally. Like if someone someone saying, "Wow, your clit is beautiful."
Yeah.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that
you
definitely
resonate with
that's
that one.
awesome.
works. Oh, very much so.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, the problems begin when sex actually starts, because then it's time to figure out, okay, but what do I do with it? Because it looks like a thing that I may or may not be used to, but it acts kind of differently, and you feel it kind of differently.
Yeah.
And everything changed when my hormones kicked in.
Yeah.
So, like, the way I masturbated changed completely. The way I feel orgasms changed completely. Everything, I would say, got better. And it's hard to argue that it's better because of estrogen, as much as my brain is being powered by the right gas. It's essentially just being feeding it leaded this whole time when it needed unleaded.
Right.
Exactly.
Although I'm pretty sure that breaks a car. I was gonna say, like, go diesel, and said no, diesel would probably destroy your car.
That would definitely destroy your engine.
Yeah, like it's being powered by the right stuff. So, like 4 months after I started hormones, before anything physical had happened, my brain felt better. It's the best way I can describe it. I just felt better. I felt more right.
You know what I'm curious about too, and I understand if you don't have the answers to this, but like from what I understand, I took a sex ed class in college once a long time ago, and I remember hearing that women have like 1,000 more nerve endings in our genitalia than men do. So then wondering if, like, being on hormones, if that actually starts to create new, and
that's a good question.
Nerve
I
pathways.
don't know that, whether it's
me
gross.
neither.
I know that the sensitivity, sensitivity does increase. Could be because of that, because I know nerve endings can
That's
grow.
nice.
Yes.
I'm clapping for you on that. Yes.
It does. There's definitely, before it was like, oh, I feel it. Now it's like, huh.
Yeah.
And I know that once you've had surgery, because part of the surgery is cutting away stuff, that your sensitivity jumps up like tenfold.
Oh my goodness!
Because there's less surface area, and the nerves are concentrated. So,
interesting.
like, I know clitoral orgasms are totally possible after surgery, and vaginal orgasms can be, depending on the person, but also it's the same with cis women.
Totally the same.
Just like if you're born with a vagina, like, yeah, you might be able to have vaginal orgasms. You might not. You also might be able to come by your nipples, which, I hate people who can do that, because it's hate out of jealousy.
I'm so jealous.
It's hate out of pure
I know.
jealousy.
Right.
It's just God, life would be so much easier. Don't even deal with my genitalia. Just play with these, and I'll have a good old time. Well, I'll still have a good old time.
Right.
But if I want the orgasm, this is not going to cut it.
Right.
It just feels unfair. So it could be that more nerves have grown there. Sensitivity decreased other ways. So, like, the shaft of the penis, for instance, is just, for all I know, it could be made of literal wood with no, it does nothing. And they're like, you're grasping. It doesn't, okay.
Yeah.
It's currently there to hold the glands, where, just like, that's its per job right now. It does nothing else. Sometimes I get hard. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get hard for like a few minutes, and then it goes away.
That
does
makes
what it wants.
sense, because that's like the part of the penis that's more stimulated by pressure, and then the tip is more stimulated by friction, and so it's more like a kind of like a clit there.
So it doesn't
Friction.
like, the only thing a shaft is good for currently is holding it still while you do stuff to the glands.
Right.
Yes.
And even then, like, what stuff is done, like a typical blowjob, for instance, doesn't feel good. Like, it feels, I won't say it doesn't feel good. Anything touch feels good.
Of course.
Touch there feels good, but it doesn't do the same thing it used to. Like, for me, someone going down on me is more, no, approach it like you would a clit. It's tongue and swirling and flicking. And some pressure, because there is still some nerves there. But it's less pressure and more also just holding it still. So yeah, it's essentially, you just treat it like giant, very, very swollen clit.
Yes.
Perineum is great. There's lots of nerve endings there.
Mhm.
Currently, it's the best place to access my prostate by like pushing on that area, though my prostate has shrunk thanks to estrogen.
Oh, wow.
It's
Yeah.
not super easy, though. When they eventually will build me a vagina, the prostate will be located where the G spot is.
Oh, that's
Gotcha.
fabulous.
So the way that they direct it. So
That's great.
it's
Yeah.
function
Wonderful.
very
Lucky
similarly.
you.
I am
Yeah.
very looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Squirrel thought, I was just the night before last, I wish I would have kept the article open, but did you guys hear that they have successfully started actually growing vaginas in laboratories now? Like
What?
organic vaginas?
No.
Yeah, I should like look this up while you. It was a BBC article, and
Whoa.
they can do it. It's working now, and
But
so
how
I
would they
did.
connect all the like nerves?
Yeah, that has got to be
to
so
your
difficult.
nerves? Like,
Yeah,
it'd be nice to have a pretty pussy, but like if it can't feel anything, like
and also like, boy, it's funny because you could tell me they were growing a heart in a lab, and I'd be like, wow, that's amazing. Growing a vagina in a lab is just sounds kind of horrifying. Just like vagina's an internal. What does it look like if it's just sitting outside of a body? Oh,
I found it. I found the article.
It's like a sock with
Doctors implant lab-grown vaginas. It's by the
they're
BBC.
implanting them. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
holy!
Do you want to send the link
I'll send it to Michael.
and then
That's
Mhm.
amazing.
that's wild.
And I know I've heard that with uteruses. They doing that, which has opened the door for just the possibility of a trans woman getting a uterus and being able to like get pregnant, which is something
That's amazing.
will never get the chance to and have felt sad on a few times.
Right.
Not sad about not having periods, but sad about like, I'll never be able to get pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is something that's important to grieve for sure. Like if that's something that you want. Yeah.
But yeah, it's sex with a trans person is a lot of, depending on how fresh the trans person is, if they're just like newly hatched or been around the block for a while, it will be a lot of trial and error, a lot of figuring out what's best, a lot of communication, a lot of openness on both sides. Like if you're, for any trans women who are listening or watching or what have you, like being gracious with a person who's never been with a trans person before is super important.
Absolutely.
Especially like they want to please you,
Right.
but they don't know how you like in general. Talk to partners about how you like to be pleased. Like that's a big giant thing. Doubly important when you're being faced with something that is uncommon or that you haven't dealt with before.
Right.
Because you can't necessarily use all the tips and tricks you may or may not have learned.
Right.
Which in some cases, it's actually easier for me to date someone who's been a lesbian their whole life, who've never encountered a penis or another trans woman before. Because they're like, oh, new thing. Okay, well, I'm even more open to tell me how you do it because this is a new thing and I haven't read the instruction booklet yet.
Right.
But someone who's bi or pan, who's encountered penises on a cis guy, see it and go, oh, penis.
I know how this works.
I know, right. I've read the
Totally.
instruction booklet. Like, no, this is the Japanese model. This is from another country. You have to, like, it's a different model of the thing you recognize.
Right. Yep, exactly.
So yeah, a lot of just communication.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we have a question, darling.
Yeah.
Oh, how do I access the question, darling? I forget.
Let me see here.
Oh, you have it up on your screen.
I do
Fabulous,
have this.
darling.
Let me
Fabulous.
see. I'm refreshing to see if we have a question here.
It's on YouTube. I can read it if you want.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Michael.
let us
Read
know.
it to us, darling.
What advice do you have to make a first connection with a trans woman for a 50-year-old cis male with no experience attracted to trans women?
I would say just treating them as a woman, period, with no, like, trans is an adjective like any other. I'm a trans woman. I'm also a tall woman. I'm also a slutty woman.
Bless your heart.
A very should be a modifier for very slutty. So treating them just like a woman, treating them as you would any woman, recognizing that for a lot of trans women, especially more so than trans men, we have a tendency to be fetishized.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels almost as bad as being rejected for being trans, is being wanted just because we're trans, because then it's about
Objectified.
what we are and not who we are.
Right.
Yeah,
And
totally.
it's oh, you just want me because of what I look like,
Mm-hmm.
and not who I am.
Mhm.
But it's even more because it's not just what I look like, it's the specific configuration of parts.
Right.
So frequently for people who fetishize trans women, it is, women with usually big breasts, because of course, and like a big dick,
Mhm.
which is why that's the thing you'll see in porn.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but like, I don't have that. I was never big before, and I'm even smaller now.
Mhm.
And so, like, if you want me because of those parts, that A, doesn't feel very good for me, and B, you're going to be disappointed. But just treating a woman like who they are, making them feel beautiful, feminine, desired, and respecting the fact that depending on where they are in their trans journey, they might be touchy about some things,
Mm-hmm.
and still trying to figure out stuff for themselves. So it's very much a case by case basis.
Mhm.
But the general things are just make them feel like you're going after them, like you're pursuing them, like you want them because of who they are, not because of the adjective that describes them.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, totally.
And I think even as a cis female, having someone openly communicate with you and ask you about, what your turn-ons and what your avoids are, just caring about your feelings, caring about your pleasure, opening up that communication is wonderful and so important, even more important, I would imagine. But we all love that.
You taught your sister the talk, didn't you?
Oh no, she's always
no.
been a talker.
I was just saying, because turn-ons and avoids are like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we
well,
did
that-
talk about some of that.
Okay, I was like, that phrase is very.
Yeah.
It wasn't
specific.
from her, though, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. She went to some SVP parties and
Nice.
had
Let's
a great
work later,
time.
honey.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. I approve.
Right.
We all approve of this message.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. I think that makes a lot of sense of being loved for who you are and being appreciated for who you are, and all of the beautiful complications that are. Everyone has complications, and so for someone to see that and see exactly who you are and to really feel that is
There's a
makes
lot
sense
of
Absolutely.
crossover between how to have sex, or in my Sailor Talk version of the course, how to fuck a trans woman, and how to fuck up anyone. Like, there's so much crossover that if you're good with the first part, you're good with any of it. Like, if you're great at communicating and you're great at talking about your turn-ons and your boundaries and the things you don't like and the things you really do like, and you're open to being taught by whoever you're with of how they best like to get off. The only complication you'll find with a trans woman is just, oh, I haven't been with a person with this configuration before. Okay. I'll just apply all the same stuff of boundaries and consent and asking and communicating. So that's really the only thing that makes it unique is just that. Yeah, I have a part that's looks one way, acts another way.
Yeah.
Other than that, if you're good at communicating, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I feel like women are very much that way anyway. Like anytime you start dating a new woman, you're like, okay, so how does everything work here? Like, give me a little tour, and that's you too. It's like everyone is different.
It's so true. Yeah, I was going to say, this reminds me of just what it's like, being cis female. And every time, like, I have a new lover, I go through that with the new lover. And, I appreciate it when they go through that with me because, even from woman to woman, our beats, they're different, like.
Oh my God, the clit slapping. Like some people, they'll have their clit slapped and they'll be like, yeah, daddy. And someone does that to me and I'll be like, why, Lord?
Yeah,
why
right,
did you do
exactly.
that?
Same with clit sucking also. Like that's a favorite move of mine, mainly because it's very similar to giving a hickey on a clit. And as pretty much anyone in sex positive Portland will tell you, obsessed with hickeys.
You are.
And I really am. It's become a thing. I'm like a little, not ashamed, but just like, oh Lord, this
Giving or
this
getting
is
or both?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Boy, I answered that quick.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I think
it was
still
very.
I think I
you
still
are.
have
It was
somewhere.
a very
but
genuine answer.
yeah, my record is 30 receiving at once.
Wow.
Not all at the same time, but in one like session.
Yeah.
Where I walked away with 30 hickeys. I'd like to get to 40 or 50.
What's that?
I'd like to get to 35. That'd be at least my age, you know.
Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
That was my plan last year, to get to like my birthday age, and then COVID, and then this year, but then still COVID. So someday I'll have a birthday party and get my numbers up.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'd like that. But yeah, there's definitely, I mean, the labia are all different, and it's
Yeah.
just, labia minora, major. Everything is different. People are different. We're all
Mhm.
unique little snowflakes.
Yeah.
And it's true and annoyingly true. Like,
Mhm.
as someone who I've learned a lot of things about lots of things. I'm a Jill of all trades. And
Mhm.
computers, it's nice. You learn a thing, you know it.
Right.
Like, I know how to
Mhm.
repair things.
Yeah.
And if it's a different model, there's only so many models of things to learn. But people are all fucking different. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's like, I'm dating a new person. Crap. But also excited because
Yeah.
new, but also, how much of my sexual knowledge do I have to like lock up and be like, no, not for this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't do this to this person.
Mhm.
Like someone who hates light touch.
Mhm.
Just don't light touches on my skin. No, why are you doing that during
Mhm.
sex? That's not the time for light touches. This is sex time.
Mhm.
Whereas someone else would be like, if you do that, I will come instantly. Like, well,
Yeah.
fuck. Now I have to remember that.
Right.
Damn.
You need to keep files, you know,
Yeah,
for
just
everybody.
like, okay, just,
case
scroll on my
files.
phone, right? So,
Yeah.
okay, how do you like to be touched? Which is a
Excel
great
spreadsheet.
way.
There you
Yes.
go. Spreadsheet.
Oh.
She says. Oh, sorry. Now I'm the 12-year-old boy.
That was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's true. And I would say even more truer with trans women and trans people in general. I dated they identified as non-binary,
Mhm.
though liked he pronouns and was on testosterone. And yeah, like they liked their, cock being played with, and they liked being, in like having insertion in their vagina also.
Mhm.
Some trans guys, hate that. And just
Mhm.
like, no, the canal, it's there, but just ignore it, pretend it's not.
Mhm.
So yeah, it just makes it more fun. You just have more pieces to play with.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
just
right.
more communication, because it's just like that against cis female. It's like some people like to take it in the bum. Some people are like, no, it's the one way Hershey Highway, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
So many things. I've been like suppressing so many squirrel questions just to let you
no.
finish and talk about what you want to. But like,
I interrupt myself all the time. Go for it.
Perfect. One of the things that came to my mind was in the sex positive Portland community, I imagine that there's more communication. I know that there's different levels in sex positive Portland to get to the more, personal and intimate situations.
Mm-hmm.
And is there actual communication training as to how to deal with that? Like, I don't know if you go to like group sex situations, but I would imagine that is something that's important to tend to and create communication around, and, be able to express boundaries and desires, because, maybe not everyone's into that. And, so I was imagining that probably comes up. No pun
Oh,
intended.
yes, it very much does. It arises.
Yes, there you go.
Yes, learning how do I say this thing without using the word "come"? Damn it. So, especially because even if I'm in a regular situation and I say "come" and everyone is just like, okay, I will still like be at risk of giggling, and it's like,
Right.
don't giving a sermon. Don't giggle at the word "come." It's not
Focus.
good.
Focus.
So yes, in the early stages, especially, there's training on boundaries and consent, and how to talk about boundaries and consent, how to say yes, how to say no, how to say, I don't know, but I want to explore, or I don't know and I don't want to explore, how to recognize those in someone else. And there's also training on like how to give like the talk, right? How to say, all right, listen, we're gonna have the sexy times, and you should know what turns me on, and I really want to know what turns you on. There's definitely training in that, and also training on how to just do it with other people. And the method I always teach people is make it fun. So I give rewards when I teach this.
Great.
So if I'm with a new person and we're about to have the horizontal mamba, let's say, I don't know. What's a
Go
good
for it. I like
The
it.
beast
Good.
with two backs.
dad joke euphemism for it? Then what? I think I've heard that 1,000 times. I just figured out what beast with two backs means.
Just now.
This
hilarious.
second.
I love it.
Wow.
Oh my
It's
God.
fine. I'm 35.
I'm so glad I'm here for
I pay
this.
taxes. I know
That's
things.
great.
So the way I do it is, all right, teach them about what we're going to talk about. Usually I do it in sections. And after we've talked about a thing, then I give them a reward. I always suggest hickeys because me. But I leave it up to the person, especially if they're not into hickeys. If they are into hickeys, then that's a home run. It's good times for Davina. So yeah, I kind of turn it into a little bit of a game where it makes it a little bit, especially if they haven't done it before, it makes it a little easier to talking about what turns you on is difficult. Talking about what you avoid is difficult. Talking about both of the things with someone who is potentially going to access your turn-ons and hopefully stay away from your avoids is even more difficult.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't want to because you're all sex-brained up because all the hormones and stuff is flowing and you're like,
Hell
I
yeah.
want to talk, but I also want to rip off your clothes with my teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Do
these
what I
are at
wanna do.
odds with each other.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
like, well, you can rip off my clothes with your teeth slowly after each section.
Yeah.
Which is
great
another,
idea.
like, make it into a striptease. Be like, oh, you want to tear my clothes off? Great. First, we talk about STIs. Then you can rip off my shirt.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I
Or
like
take
it.
off my shirt, depending on how much I paid for it.
I love
Um,
that. That's beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
So that's how I work it into. It's like, I'm going to teach you. And for learning this thing, you get a reward for learning. And the reward is, my mouth on you.
Right. So it's sensual and sexual. At first, I was imagining you giving him jelly beans, like, good boy or good girl. Here's a jelly bean.
Could be.
Use a clicker.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I know people who'd be in both of those things.
Yeah, that's what she calls it, her
True.
clicker.
Clicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my clicker.
Click away.
Enjoy it.
Double click. Triple.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's fun.
All right, squirrel. What do you
What?
have, squirrel?
Oh God,
Do
I
you
know.
have
I
more
had a
squirrely
backlog
stuff?
of questions.
Because we're at about 8 minutes, so
Yeah,
you got to get that backlog out.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
of course, it did start back when I was thinking about like the group sex thing, and
Mhm.
I thought like, oh, it's too personal to ask if you do group sex situations.
I do. I
Okay.
enjoy them very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
Orgies are fun. It took. I love the name of this podcast because I've definitely been in a situation and left and been like, wait, was that an orgy?
Me too.
And having to think and like after been and it's funny because I feel like especially in the sex positive world, once you don't really classify things anymore. Like
Right.
I've talked with somebody and they've been like, oh yeah, like I've had some threesomes and foursomes. I'm like, oh, I've never really had. Wait,
Have I?
no, I've had a lot of threesomes. I just don't define them because I forget to because I'm more
Yeah.
concerned with, hey, we have bodies. Let's mush them together and do
Right,
stuff.
exactly.
So
Totally.
yeah,
It's
I've
a hindsight
definitely.
question.
It's very much a
Right.
hindsight
Well,
question.
And once you get into it, like we're totally squirreling right now, and that's great.
That's
but
great.
like, I've even wondered, like, what's the difference between, partner swapping and a foursome? Do you all have to like interact, together? Or can you?
Well, I
all
would
at
say
the same
definitely
time.
I would
Yeah.
say if it's just swapping and there's no interaction between the two, I would not define that as a foursome.
But what if you, like-
Same here.
But what if you're like, going between like the different people, like not just swapping straight across, but everyone like musical chairs, it's musical
That's
genitals.
kind of-
you just
that's
tick,
more
tick,
of a
tick, go
foursome.
to the next one.
I would say
Tick,
that's
tick,
a foursome. That's a good way to do a foursome. That's a fun
Yeah.
way.
Fun.
Musical chair
genitals.
orgy.
Yeah.
I should suggest that to
That
Sanctuary
was
as an
really
Coastal
event.
cute.
genitals.
Yeah, that'd be a
The
great
new
event.
game
At
by
Sanctuary.
Twister. Yeah.
I think
good.
for me, like what defines an orgy, because technically it's like 5 or more, right?
Oh yeah.
That's what we
So
discovered.
for me, those 5 have to interact at some level. So it can't be a threesome here and a twosome here, and they never cross. Like the legs there needs to be like a lot of crossover, and then you have orgy time.
Right.
But anything where there's less interaction and there's like dyadic pairings or trios or whatever happening, it's like, nah, it's not quite an orgy.
You're just having sex near people.
Right. Exactly.
I've had lots of sex near people. I wouldn't say like, oh, geez, were you an orgy? Like, no, I was just having a lot of sex with these 2 people, but near a whole bunch of people.
Right.
And like, I don't think like
they were having an orgy and you were having a 3-way. Yeah.
The hard part to define things for me is when does an orgy start? Like I've had 6 mouths on me at the same time. It was just hickeys, and then there was no like quote unquote sex afterwards, but like that's orgy-ish at the very least. Like most people don't typically have 6 mouths on them. Yeah, I would say that most people are not happy because they haven't had 6 mouths on them at the same time. There's nothing quite like it.
That is, I have to say that is true. My last birthday, I had cake on me, and cake was eaten off of me, and it was very nice. And that did. I mean, a true orgy involves food,
but sticky,
and sexual energy. What?
But sticky.
Oh yeah, well that's what showers are for.
And it could give you a yeast infection. Don't get sugar
no,
up
I didn't say there was cake in me. I said it was on me.
Thank God. No, that's
that'd be part. Don't.
I'm a lady after all. My lady bits were covered.
Yeah. Not official medical advice. Please do not put cake inside you.
No,
don't. Unless it's in your mouth. That's the only acceptable orifice to put cake and foodstuffs.
That is where cake goes.
Right.
Yes.
That is where cake goes.
So some of the questions, some of the thoughts that were coming up in my head were almost like empathetic experience based in my imagination. So it's like I imagine, you're having all these new experiences as you go through transitions. Like nudist beaches came up, in my mind as well. Like first it was like, oh, being nude at an orgy. Like, what does that entail? Is it any different than any other, like, kind of more binary oriented person? And then nudist beaches and the potential of there being, phobic people there. And it just so
added level of terror.
Yeah.
My very first sex positive giant event was this thing called Convergence. It was in 2016. I just learned about sex positive Los Angeles and sex positive Portland from a group called Cuddle Sanctuary that I was doing cuddles with on a regular basis for like a few weeks. And someone was like, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be at Convergence. And I went, what's that? Oh, that sounds amazing. 5 days in Oregon. Cool.
That's like the local.
Guess I'll go.
Man.
And then I went.
Right?
I just, don't plan.
It's
just
sex
go.
Camp.
It's sex camp.
Oh, okay.
It's 5 days of sex camp.
But it's not the Portland Burning Man.
No.
No.
Okay.
That's so.
Yeah.
You're right. That's so.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this was just sex camp at the founder's farm and cabin and was amazing. And I was nude in public for my first time there at like the little river. And the very last day.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the last day when there were not as many people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not come out as nothing. It was just a maybe genderqueer guy trying to explore. And it was terrifying and then freeing.
Mm-hmm.
And after that experience, the first time I was nude in front of multiple people after I had already started transitioning, same thing was, I'm going to be like judged or whatever. And then did it and then was freeing and just felt like I wasn't judged because it was sex positive Portland.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a safer container.
Yeah.
And being a nude in those spaces gave me the confidence and also the zero fucks given to being nude at sex clubs like Sanctuary or at nudist beaches where I go and I'm like, if there's a phobic person, I literally don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I don't think, if there's a phobic person here. If there is, fuck them. I don't care. But also, I just love being naked in public and in outdoor spaces so much that it now doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Right.
I don't even think about it. But the first time was really difficult.
Yeah. I'm just curious too.
Yeah.
For details inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
But, is it different how you felt? Like, did you like going to nudist beaches before you transitioned as well? Or did it all happen after hormone therapy and transitioning? And
afterwards. So one of the things is hard because I have no impulse control to do, like, I entered sex positive world and transitioning at the same time, right? So it's hard to tease apart which is which.
Right.
But I would argue, and anecdotally, it seems to draw out that transitioning and making a really life-changing decision like that and realizing something that gigantic about yourself automatically opens you up to the possibilities of literally everything else. The number of trans people whose sexuality changes after they transition is impressive. And I don't think it's because being trans did it. It's just opening themselves up to saying, well, what else about myself do I not know?
Yeah.
What
right.
else
Well said.
should I explore
Yeah.
that maybe I've been suppressing or denying or just not even considering? So the idea of going to a nude beach was always kind of intriguing, but I don't think I ever did it once before transitioning.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm part frog. Like, I will live in the water forever. But also being naked outside, I love. And I don't think it's because of being in the sex positive world. I think it's because of both transitioning, opening myself up to possibilities, and being in a community and containers that are just warm and welcoming and embracing and encourage you to explore, that got me to a point where I went, yeah, sex in a sex club where everyone can watch me? That sounds fine. And then I did it and went, oh, it's more than fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
That's great.
Being like naked at a beach where it's not sexual at all. It's just about clothes are dumb and I want to feel the sun and the water on me.
Yeah.
Same thing was, I wonder if this will be great. Oh, it's better than great.
Yeah.
Totally.
It sounds like your guys' experience in sex positive, being part of sex positive Portland, has increased both of your sense of safety and your ability to, probably because you have the ability to express your desires and your boundaries. That's probably the backbone of everything. But it does sound like an incredibly liberating community to be a part of because of the advanced levels of acceptance for everyone to explore themselves.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That is. I just realized we're running out of time. We're actually out of time.
My God.
We're 2 minutes
I can't
over
believe
time.
it.
And I knew that would happen because you're so much fun to talk to. And you're
Yes.
always fun to talk to, too.
Well, thanks.
Obviously.
And I had so many squirrel questions
But
still. I was like, no,
so
wait,
many squirrel
Teresa,
que-
wait.
That means that we
Don't
need
squirrel.
to do part
So many
2
questions,
and
yeah.
part 3
Yeah.
or however.
I haven't
many
even
parts-
told you about, let's see, what can I tease
Don't
about
tease. Don't you
kink?
tease. Stop it.
I'm super in the kink community and I'm super into the
great.
Jewish community and I merge these things. And what's that like, people who are listening?
Jewish
I
kink.
Don't you want to
would
hear
love-
more?
Yes.
I would love to
exactly.
hear. Yeah, and we were having a great conversation before we turned the mics on and everything, and that's one to explore about
Yes.
the fusion of the two.
What do
for
you
sure.
do with your dreidel?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
So if it's silicone, fun things. If it's wood and porous, not so much.
my God. Oh,
You're
God,
right,
no.
Exactly.
No, same with cakes. Don't put cakes in there. Don't put wooden dreidels up there. Those just,
No.
no. There's other things. So many other
Yes.
things you can put in there.
So
Note to
many
self, note to
pervertibles
self.
for us to use,
Yes.
but those are not good ones.
No.
Yeah.
Well, in our links, is there any information you would like us to put into our links so people can?
Yeah, I mean, I
Access
was
you.
joking, but I do have an OnlyFans. I do
Yeah,
that's
have
awesome.
that's what I was thinking
Um,
about. Yeah.
That'd be great.
an Instagram, which is linked to things.
Okay.
I mean, my Instagram is just the Rebel Jewess because that
Oh.
just was perfect.
Yeah, I like
It was the
Oh, that's
rebellious Jewess
beautiful.
because I
I
like
love
the S's, but then
Mhm.
rebellious Jewess is hard to say and remember and type and just
Right.
make it simple.
Yeah, try to
So
say that
yeah,
20
Instagram
times.
is the Rebel Jewess. I have all my links kind of there.
Yeah.
My OnlyFans is and FetLife and things are Switchy Miss V, just the letter V.
It's great.
Miss V.
Though I want to get into pro doming, so I might be changing that to face something
Ooh, how
better,
exciting.
but trying to
Definitely.
like
Yeah.
easy to have sex in front of like 100 people I don't know.
Yeah.
Come up with a new handle. No.
This is Davina.
Um,
Yeah, you're coming
yeah.
up with your label.
Well,
That's
it's all
hard.
about identity, right? You're figuring
totally.
out. Like,
so those
who am
are
I?
the big things. Instagram is my way of connecting to the outside world. Facebook I've kept locked down now because of transphobes and bigots and a whole thing.
Oh, geez.
But
yeah.
yeah, anyone can feel free to follow, message me on Instagram. I'm happy to talk and answer
Cool.
questions.
Yeah, and we'll get that. We'll get all
Yay.
that info up on the playback. Not the live version, but we'll make sure to get that all up in the show notes. And
Cool.
Right.
thank you so much. That was
Thank you for
amazing.
having
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
this was
you're
great.
incredible. It was so fun. Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
amazing.
I love this.
Oh my god. Yeah. And so for everyone listening and watching, we will be back next week. And thank you so much, Davina. And
Yes, thank you.
we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Are you calling me a country girl?
I'm
Flip my lid, come here, eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, well, what are you gonna do with this eager beaver, baby of mine? Ooh, I'm all there beside you, no matter where you stop. I'll follow you to movies, even to the barber shop. Now, eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver, baby. Eager beaver.